Hello and welcome to the 2023 American Association All-Star Selection Show. I'm Matt Yeazel, coming to you from Franklin Field, the home of the Milwaukee Milkmen and the home of the 2023 American Association All-Star Game, taking place Tuesday, July 18th at 6:35 p.m. On this show, we're going to reveal to you the starters and reserves for both the East and West divisions in the All-Star Game, again, taking place here at Franklin Field. It's an incredibly exciting time for our league. We cannot wait to welcome our top talent as well as our fans here to Franklin Field and the Ballpark Commons campus. We have tons of fun events planned. You can go to MilwaukeeMilkmen.com/All-Star Game for a full schedule of all the events, including a par 3 golf tournament at Lux Bay Golf. We've got a beer festival going into the Home Run Derby, and of course, the Hall of Fame luncheon before the game itself on Tuesday night. So again, MilwaukeeMilkmen.com/All-Star Game to check it out. But without any further ado, let's reveal our All-Stars. We're going to start with the coaching staffs in both the East and West divisions before the position player reserves, the pitchers, and of course the starters before our last man in vote. So stay tuned until the end of the broadcast to find out how you can have an impact on a player who will get the opportunity to come here to Franklin Field. But let's start with the East coaching staff, and that will be the host, the Milwaukee Milkmen coaching staff. Of course, the Milkmen, the reigning East Division champions. So manager Anthony Barone gets the opportunity to manage the East All-Stars along with his coaching staff of hitting coach DJ Boston, pitching coach Jose Rodriguez, bench coach Drew Rossi, and first base coach Mason Davis. On the West side, they will be managed by the reigning Miles Wolf Cup champion Fargo-Moorhead Redhawks, of course led by manager Chris Coast, along with his staff of bench coach Anthony Renz, bullpen coach Robbie Lopez, and actually a fun one here, Kevin McGovern, the Redhawks veteran pitcher, is going to also be the pitching coach for the Redhawks in the West Division All-Star dugout. Now we go to the East Division reserves. Again, the position players first, and then the entire pitching staff as well. Making his second consecutive All-Star appearance in the East in the reserve catcher role is the Chicago Dogs' Ryan LIDGE, the Illinois native in his third season playing for the Dogs. Once again, having a stellar season, hitting above 500 as he's done each of the past 2 years for the Chicago Dogs. Ryan LIDGE is an All-Star once again. Next up, also from the Chicago Dogs, is infielder Matt Botcher, another Illinois native playing in his home state and a University of Illinois Chicago alum. Botcher currently leads the league with a batting average over 370 on the season. In just his first season of American Association Baseball, Matt Botcher is an All-Star. The other two position player reserves come from the hosting team in the Milwaukee Milkmen. Infielder Gabriel Cancel is an All-Star. The Puerto Rican shortstop has been a very key addition for the Milkmen in his first season in the league, hitting over 300 and currently leading Milwaukee in runs batted in as well. And another important addition to the Milkmen this season, Cam Ballego is a 2023 All-Star. Ballego earns the All-Star bid with a first half as Milwaukee's home run leader, a key run producer, and a strong presence behind the dish as well. Cam Ballego is a 2023 All-Star. Let's move on to the pitchers, including both bullpen arms and the starters. We've grouped these players by their teams as well. First off, representing the Gary South Shore Railcats, relief arm DJ Wilkinson is a 2023 All-Star. Wilkinson has been a shutdown arm at the back end of the Railcats bullpen, leading Gary in converted saves as well as earned run average, averaging more than a strikeout per inning as well. DJ Wilkinson is an All-Star. Next up, representing the Cleburne Railroaders, another very strong relief arm in Joe Corbett is an All-Star. Corbett is averaging nearly 2 strikeouts per inning on the season, one of the higher rates in the league, shutting down opponents all season long with electric stuff towards the back end of the bullpen. Joe Corbett is an All-Star for the Cleburne Railroaders. Our first in the group of starting pitchers, representing the nearby Lake Country Dockhounds, starter Mike Shawarin is an All-Star. The right-hander has been rock solid for the Dockhounds this season, sitting with an ERA below 4 and has been among the team and league leaders in strikeouts this season as well. Mike Shawarin is a 2023 All-Star. Now let's move into a big group of arms from an amazing pitching staff among the Kane County Cougars, one of the better teams in terms of team ERA all season long. They've been shutting down teams. And first up, we'll start with Jack Fox. Fox is in his third season with the Cougars, and he has made quite the leap in his third season, currently holding an ERA just over 2, along with a 5-2 record on the season. Jack Fox, a member of a great rotation, is a 2023 All-Star, and he'll be joined by a couple more of his teammates in that rotation. Tyler Beardsley is a 2023 All-Star. The Illinois native has been outstanding in his first season as a Cougar after spending parts of the last 2 years with Sioux City, currently holding an ERA below 3 on the season as well. And the final member of a terrific trio in the Cougars rotation, Weston Muir, is an All-Star. After playing his college ball at UW-Whitewater, Muir is in his second season as a Cougar, holding an ERA just above that 2 line as well. These starters have made the Cougars a tough team to face night in and night out in this league. But we're not done with Cougars arms, as Daniel Bees is an All-Star as well. Bees, the only reliever among this group, is in his first season in the league and has been near perfect at the back end of the Cougars bullpen, striking out close to a batter per inning and allowing just 1 earned run all season long. Finally, our last group of pitchers all come from the host team in the Milwaukee Milkmen, another team who has been pitching lights out all season long. And the first among this group is Frankie Bartow, a pitcher who has moved into the starting rotation after being a key part of the bullpen last year. The Miami native, Anthony Barone, made the move to put him into the rotation this season, and it's paid off in a big way, sporting an ERA under 3 on the season. And another part of a very solid rotation, Ryan Zimmerman is an All-Star as well, a veteran in this league, this being his 6th season. He's arguably on pace for his best career season thus far, holding an ERA below 4 and being among the league leaders in wins on the mound as well. Next up, a guy who spent time in both the bullpen and the rotation this season, the current ERA leader in the American Association, Gregor VASQUEZ, is an All-Star. The Dominican Republic native has been outstanding in his first season in the league, holding an ERA under 2 in over 30 innings pitched on the season. And finally, we end with our starting pitcher in the All-Star game in the East Division, the ace of the Milwaukee Milkmen. Christian Young is a 2023 All-Star, and again, he will be the starting pitcher on Tuesday, July 18th. Young earns the All-Star nod in his 3rd season with the Milkmen, which has been by far his best, sporting one of the best ERAs in the league, just over 2, and holding opponents to under a 200 batting average. So those are the position player reserves as well as the pitchers who will be on the field for the East Division. Again, we will get to the starters in the East in just a little bit, but first, let's announce the West Division position player reserves and the pitchers as well. Let's start it off with the reigning champs. Representing the Fargo-Moorhead Redhawks will be catcher B.J. Lopez. B.J. Lopez is a 2023 All-Star, the veteran now in his 3rd season in the league, and first with Fargo-Moorhead earned the nod as the reserve catcher after a solid start to the season behind the plate defensively and at the plate offensively as well. Another member of the Redhawks earning the nod, new Fargo-Moorhead captain Sam Dexter is an All-Star. In his 3rd season with the Redhawks, Dexter was given the captain's patch and has been solid both at the plate and on the field, hitting over 270 on the season. Sam Dexter is a 2023 All-Star. Next up amongst the reserves is a big power bat representing the Sioux City Explorers. Vince Fernandez is an All-Star. Fernandez, in his first season of American Association Baseball, is amongst the league leaders in home runs and leads his Explorers team in runs batted in as well. Finally, among the position players representing the team north of the border, the Winnipeg Goldeyes, outfielder Dason Cruz is an All-Star. Cruz, the ideal leadoff hitter amongst the league leaders in batting average all season long, while being one of the most difficult hitters to strike out in the league. He had a stretch of nearly 50 plate appearances without a strikeout, pretty rare in today's day and age. Dason Cruz is an all-star. Let's move on to the pitchers in the West Division. First up, also representing the Winnipeg Goldeyes, Samuel Adames is an all-star. The Goldeyes closer has been a standout this season, striking out nearly a batter per inning and converting nearly all of his chances in the late innings as well. Samuel Adames is an all-star. Moving on, representing the Sioux Falls Canaries, starter Akeem Bostic is an all-star. The former big leaguer has been solid in the Canaries rotation this season after being a part of the Kansas City Monarchs rotation a season ago. Akeem Bostic is a 2023 all-star. Next up, we have two pitchers who will be representing the Sioux City Explorers. First of all, the reliever Kent Hasler. In his first season of American Association play, Hasler has been clutch in the Explorers' pen, sporting an ERA under 2 and over 30 innings pitched on the season. Kent Hasler is an all-star, and he will be joined by his teammate in Sioux City in Solomon Bates, one of the more electric arms in this league. What a season it's been for Bates, who is our only 2-time player of the week thus far on the season as well. Currently the runaway strikeout leader in the American Association. Bates was moved in the rotation after being in the bullpen much of last season, and it has clearly paid off. Solomon Bates is a 2023 All-Star. A couple more teams represented in the pitching staff. Let's get to a couple arms from the Kansas City Monarchs. First off, relief pitcher Trey Jeans. Jeans has been a big arm in the Monarchs' pen, typically a multi-inning reliever with an ERA just over 2 on the season and an average of around a strikeout per inning as well. Trey Jeans is an all-star, and he will be joined by his teammate from the starting rotation, Jalen Miller. Miller has been one of the better starters in this league, and great timing as well, as he's coming off a complete game shutout in his last outing in Kane County. An incredible outing for Miller, a 5-2 record on the year with an ERA under 4 as well. Finally, we've got a big group of arms from the Fargo-Moorhead Redhawks, and we'll start it off with a great relief arm in Reza Aliaziz. Aliaziz has been a shutdown reliever at the back end of the Redhawks' pen, holding an ERA under 2 at the moment and striking out about a batter per inning. Reza Aliaziz is an all-star, and he'll be joined by a very strong starting rotation with the Redhawks. First up, a guy who excels on both sides of the ball, and certainly somebody who the fans here in Milwaukee know very well. Correll Prime is a 2023 All-Star. He was voted in as a starting pitcher after spending most of the season last year with Milwaukee in the lineup, and he's done that for Fargo-Moorhead as well. Correll Prime is a 2023 All-Star. Next up in the rotation, the right-hander Jake Dykoff is an all-star. In his first season of American Association baseball, after finishing his college ball at Minnesota Crookston, he's been a solid addition to the rotation, holding an ERA under 4 on the season. Jake Dykoff is an all-star. Finally, we've got two Red Hawk starters who were in this game a year ago at Impact Field in Chicago, with the first being the reigning American Association Rookie Pitcher of the Year in Tyler Grauer. Tyler Grauer is an all-star once again. He's been really solid in year 2 in this league. Also coming off a complete game shutout not too long ago against Gary. Tyler Grauer is an all-star once again. And finally, the starting pitcher for the West Division, who will take the mound here on Tuesday, July 18th, none other than Kevin McGovern, who, as we mentioned, will also be the pitching coach for the West Division, but he will be starting on the mound. McGovern, who is in his 11th season in the American Association, his 4th with Fargo-Moorhead, is having another great year, up amongst the league leaders in wins and strikeouts, leading what is clearly a great Fargo-Moorhead pitching staff once again. So that does it for the West Division position player reserves and the pitching staff. Now, what you've all been waiting for, let's announce the starters for the 2023 All-Star Game. We will begin with the East Division, the home team here at Franklin Field. We'll go around the infield first. Starting at first base and representing the Cleburne Railroaders is Jose Sermo. Sermo, a former MVP in this league. In his first season with the Railroaders, is among the league leaders in many big offensive categories, including home runs, runs batted in, and OPS as well. Jose Sermo is your starting first baseman. At second base, representing the hosting Milwaukee Milkmen and making his second consecutive appearance in the All-Star game, is Brian Torres. Torres, who was last season's batting champion in the league, has gotten right back to his hitting ways this year, up amongst the league leaders in batting average once again, and leading the first-place Milkmen team all season long. Now to the shortstop position, also making his second straight appearance in the All-Star game, but this time representing a new team in the Chicago Dogs, is Josh Altman. Altman has been a fantastic addition for the Dogs after spending the last 2 seasons with Lincoln. He's up amongst the league leaders in runs batted in. Josh Altman is your starting shortstop. Finally, around the infield, representing the Lake Country Dockhounds and playing third base for the East All-Stars will be Blake Taberry. Taberry joined Lake Country after spending the last 2 seasons with Sioux City, and he's having a career year, hitting well over 300 and leading a Dockhound squad that has got some firepower on the offensive side of the ball. Blake Taberry is your starting third baseman. Let's move to the outfield. Representing the Gary South Shore Railcats, Jesus Mariaga is an all-star starter. Now in his 3rd season with the Railcats, the Columbia native in Mariaga has led the way for Gary, hitting right around 300 and leading the team in runs batted in. Jesus Mariaga is a starting outfielder. Now we've got a few more representatives from that powerful lineup down in Texas. Joining Mariaga in the outfield is Cleburne Railroaders star Zach Nerrier. Nerrier, making his second straight appearance in the All-Star game, is right there with his teammate Jose Sermo up towards the top of the RBI leaderboard in the league and has been a strong veteran presence for one of the better lineups in the league. Zach Nerrier, once again, is an all-star, and Nerrier's also got a pretty good teammate in the outfield with him, as Mark Karaviotis is the final starting outfielder in the East Division. The Hawaiian native had a solid year with Kane County last season and has built upon that now in Cleburne, hitting for both a high average and a ton of power. Mark Karaviotis is the final starting outfielder in the East. And now to the catcher position, where the home fans will get one more hometown player to cheer for, as Milwaukee Milkmen catcher Roy Morales gets the start. Morales had to miss a bit of time with an injury, but he has had an outstanding season behind the plate for Milwaukee, hitting well over 300 on the season in his first season of play since the 2020 season. Roy Morales is the starting catcher for the East Division. Finally, in the East, we are not done with Cleburne Railroaders, as the starting designated hitter will be Hill Alexander. Alexander has been another incredible bat in the Cleburne lineup, hitting for both average and power as well amongst the league leaders in home runs this season. Hill Alexander is the starting designated hitter for the East Division. So there's your starters for the East Division in the 2023 All-Star Game. The East looking for a bounce-back win after the West took the All-Star Game last year by a 7-6 final. A 3-run ninth inning put the West team over the edge in Chicago last season. But now let's transition to the West Division starters, who will look to make it 2 wins in a row in the All-Star Game. First up in the infield, starting at first base and representing the Sioux Falls Canaries, Mike Hart is a 2023 All-Star and the starting first baseman. The veteran Hart is in his 5th season in Sioux Falls, and he's on pace to have his best season yet, hitting well over the 300 mark on the season and serving as a top run producer for his team as well. Mike Hart is the starting first baseman for the Canaries. Moving over to second base, representing the Kansas City Monarchs is Justin Wiley. Wiley has made a strong first impression in the American Association, hitting over 300 in a strong Monarchs lineup and playing a very solid defense up the middle as well. Wiley ended an important game against Fargo-Moorhead earlier this month with an incredible diving catch at second. Justin Wiley is your starting second baseman. On the other side of the bag, representing the Lincoln Salt Dogs and playing shortstop is Drew Devine. Devine, in his 2nd season in Lincoln after finishing his college ball in his hometown at Western Michigan, has taken a big step forward this year, hitting over 300 and making an impact on the base paths as well. Drew Devine is the starting shortstop. Lastly, around the infield, we go to third base, where representing the Sioux City Explorers, Matt Lloyd gets the start. The native Canadian is in his first season of American Association baseball and has made a big impact for Sioux City with a very high batting average and hitting for power as well with an OPS well over 1,000. Matt Lloyd is the starting third baseman. Going to the outfield, the first of 3 outfield spots, representing the Fargo-Moorhead Redhawks is Evan Alexander. Alexander has been a steady presence in the Redhawks lineup, being up amongst the league leaders in batting average all season long and making an impact on the base paths as well, with nearly 20 stolen bases, leading the team in runs scored as well. Evan Alexander is a starting outfielder. Next up in the second outfield spot, representing the Lincoln Salt Dogs, is Nick Anderson. Anderson has been one of the big power bats in the league, in the top 5 in the league in big flies. Anderson can also impact the game with his speed through both the base paths and the outfield, where he's made some incredible highlight plays this season. Nick Anderson is in the second outfield spot. And finally in the outfield, representing the Winnipeg Goldeyes, the reigning MVP of the American Association, Max Murphy, gets the All-Star nod. Now, unfortunately, Murphy was voted in as a starter, but he will be unable to participate in the All-Star game. So we do have a replacement for Max Murphy, and that is the Sioux Falls Canaries slugger Darnell Sweeney. Sweeney, the former big leaguer, making his second consecutive trip to the All-Star game after being in the game with Kansas City last season, has made a big impact with his new team as a power bat in the middle of the Canaries lineup. So Darnell Sweeney will be replacing Max Murphy in the All-Star game starting lineup. Last 2 spots here in the starting lineup, we go to the catcher position, where representing the Kansas City Monarchs, it will be Chris Herman catching for the West. Herman has been incredible all season long and is one of the MVP frontrunners in this first half, threatening a Triple Crown level season while also playing a very solid defense behind the plate. Chris Herman is the starting catcher for the West Division. And finally, the final starter in the All-Star game is the designated hitter in the West. Also representing the Kansas City Monarchs is Dylan Rosa. In his first season of American Association baseball, Rosa has made an impact for the Monarchs, has been a solid, dependable bat in the Monarchs' very strong lineup. Dylan Rosa is the starting designated hitter for the West Division. There you have it. Those are your 2023 American Association All-Star starters and reserves. All has been announced except the last man in, and that is where you, the fans, come into play. You can head to aabaseball.com right now. The voting is live. There is 1 player from each team up for the vote. So you, the fans, can give a player a chance to come to Franklin Field and be an American Association All-Star. The voting will be open until Thursday, so you have between now and Thursday to get your votes in, again, at aabaseball.com. Spread the word and get your favorite players into the All-Star game. That'll do it for our All-Star game selection show. We cannot wait to welcome the league's top talent here to Franklin Field and the Ballpark Commons campus. Again, go to MilwaukeeMilkman.com/All-Star Game for a full schedule of events and to get your tickets for the game. I'm Matt Yeazel for the American Association, where we play to win.